What's up, co-reporters? Welcome back to my channel. Listen, we've got to do a recap of yesterday's episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup. I truly am loving the show, and I want to remind you that I use Philo in order to watch the show. It's like the Netflix of reality TV. There are over 70 channels, over 70,000 different shows that you can watch using Philo online, and I've got an affiliate link if you would like to watch. You can sign up for a free trial so that you can watch Gypsy Rose and a bunch of other shows that you want online, okay? So just an FYI down in the description box. So let's start from the very beginning of the episode, shall we? Gypsy Rose sneaks off into the balcony in the middle of the night to talk about how she can't sleep because she had a nightmare about her mom and how it's not easy to live with what I'm presuming to be the guilt of, offing her mother, which is totally understandable. I hear this all the time from people who have committed such acts that like they're haunted for the rest of their lives. And I get it. Like that's not something you're supposed to do. So obviously your brain has a hard time coming to terms with the fact that it is something that you did to somebody else, So she says that like these nightmares have always happened to her ever since the crime. And sometimes it is the like guilt. Sometimes it's the horror over the medical abuse that her mom put her through. Sometimes there are nightmares about her childhood, just all sorts of things like that. And it's really sad to me, you guys. Like then they go into how Gypsy's mom, Dee Dee, used to chain her up to the bed so that like if she were ever to move in the middle of the night to try to escape or something, like she would know. Then we got into the feeding tube that she was forced to have implanted into her for like 15 years. Like I have so much empathy for this girl. I 100% understand why she did what she did and felt like that was the only way out. Like, when you go through that much, you get desperate to find a way out. And unfortunately, that was the only way out that she knew at the time. And it sucks for everybody involved, but she suffered as well. It's not like she just woke up one day and decided to do this for no reason, So I do get a little bit sad when people are a little bit harsh on her and act like she was just a stone cold, killer or something like that. I don't see her that way, but I digress. So in this week's episode, like we opened up with the mom guilt, right? The guilt of her mom. And the whole episode kind of centers around trying to explore that side of her family a little bit more. So she, Ryan, and the rest of her family, they go to the Blanchard home. Then they go to the tomb where her maternal grandmother is resting. And so she says to her grandma, like, I know, like, I probably disappointed you with where I wound up in my life. And I felt really bad for her in that moment because, again, she was tortured. The girl was tortured her entire childhood. And like, yeah, she snapped at a certain point, but like, look at the hell that she was living through, like forced to do all these operations to live like this for no real reason. It just sucks. So, you know how I said she was there with her husband, Ryan, and with like her biological family as well? There was like this moment, listen, in each recap, like, where I talk about how Ryan is just so off to me. Now, like last week in episode 3, I talked about like how her fame went to his head. Remember how he was like, oh, where's our security? No selfies. We love you guys. We love you guys to the crowds and everything. Well, this week he's taking a picture of Gypsy and her family. And he's like, yeah, let me take a pic of the family. But I'm part of this family too now. I'm in this family. This is my family too. Like it was so weird. This guy is so off, you guys. Like he just gives me major ick, you guys. I can't with him. And I can totally see why Gypsy did not last long in the real world with this man. All right. And I'm sure we're going to see more examples of that as the show progresses. Now, one thing that was rather interesting was we got to meet one of Gypsy Rose's cousins, actually. She has a very nice cousin named Bobby, who has a tattoo shop on one end of his house and then his actual house on the other, which I thought was rather groovy. And he talks about like, seeing Gypsy as a child in these wheelchairs and constantly going in and out of hospitals and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, like there were always rumors that something wasn't right, but we didn't want to risk upsetting your mom. And I just feel so sad that they allowed a child to suffer just because they didn't want to upset her mom who was doing these terrible things to her, like it really is sad. And then he also says that he knew that Gypsy's mom, Dee Dee, was a little bit off because there was a time when they were like, I don't know how old, but she was old enough to not be doing this type of thing. I think maybe she was like in her like early 20s or something like that, or in her late teens. This was prior to her having Gypsy. She sees like an object. I don't remember what the object was. She picks it up And then she starts treating it like a baby and like talking to it like, oh, I'm always going to be there for you, my sweet little baby. Oh, what's that, my sweet baby? Like that. And he was like, oh, this girl, she's a little touched in the head. But, he kind of was like, okay, well, maybe she's a little like slow or off. But I like the medical abuse and stuff like that, lying about her daughter's condition type stuff didn't like cross his mind. He was like, well, this is just too weird. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe I'm imagining what I saw, and that wasn't really it, And so I feel bad for him. He probably carries a lot of guilt about not being able to step in and get Gypsy help and to save her from that situation. But it seems like all is well in Gypsy's world because, she understands where everyone's coming from, because she says that, like, yeah, her mom used to talk to her about like hearing voices and stuff like that. And she's like, I should have gone to somebody and told them about this. So I guess they're kind of like alluding to the idea that Dee Dee had some sort of schizophrenia or something like that, which, very, very sad. The entire situation is just heartbreaking. This family was torn apart by these actions, and it really sucks. Okay. But I'm glad that like he's on good terms with Gypsy and Gypsy's on good terms with him. So apparently there's this family tradition where everybody goes to him to get their tattoos. And so she got a tattoo. She said at the top, it's like a fleur de quelque chose. I don't remember what it is. And then the bottom is something else. So that's what she's got there on her forearm. And this motivates Ryan to actually go ahead and get his own tattoo. And he has it like on his upper arm. And he incorporates a rose, like in honor of Gypsy Rose. And on the drive back, he's kind of like low-key pressuring her to get something like in honor of him. He's like, yeah, I got a rose in honor of Gypsy Rose, my Gypsy Rose. Like, you didn't get anything that like, honored me or whatever, like reminds you of me. And then Gypsy's like, yeah, like next time. Girl, never. She knew never. Like, I feel like women, like we know when we want to stay in a relationship and when we don't, and it's like, you kind of slowly start backing out of these sorts of things. Like, go ahead, get me tattooed on you if you want to, like get that symbolism, boo, but I'm not getting nothing for you because I know this time next year, you're done, you're out, you're benched. So whatever, like you can see it, as recently as episode 3 that Gypsy was quiet quitting this relationship. Like, for example, when Ken and her went to look at wedding venues and she was like, oh, like, this is happening a little bit too quickly. Like, let's slow down. I don't want to like, commit to a date. I don't want to put down a deposit. And I was like, good for you, Gypsy. Like, you can tell that this guy is just not for you. And so you have to slowly like let him down gently while you kind of figure out your next move and everything like that, Now, speaking of dumping him, I usually feel like you should just dump someone and be alone for a while and figure yourself out and enjoy your solitude a bit. But Gypsy wants to monkey branch it over to her ex. And that storyline is introduced to us via her stepmom. So her stepmom starts opening up this like package of like photos and mementos from Gypsy's relationship with Ken. Dun, 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 dun. So there they are, their prison photos and everything like that. And so it really feels as though she wants for Gypsy to end up with Ken and to leave Ryan. You can just tell she's not interested in Ryan. Her daughter doesn't like Ryan either. So I think the only person in Gypsy's family that I think genuinely likes Ryan is her dad, but her dad just seems like some like nice person who's like, I just like anyone, so long as you're nice to me, whatever, but like, I feel like ladies, we know, when a guy is off, and Ryan is all the way off, right? So I feel like her stepmother senses it, and that's why she is poking the bear with this Ryan situation, like knowing how much Gypsy with this Ken situation, knowing how much Gypsy still loves him. So she shares the story of how heartbroken Gypsy was when Ken dumped her. And she says that the reason why Ken dumped her was because the press was just way too invasive with him. They started sniffing around. They were reaching out to his family, his friends for information on him, on his relationship with Gypsy, and it just made him back off. And according to her, Ken once told her, like, oh, someone told me, like, if you love her, let her go, let her explore, find herself, and then she'll come right back. I'm like, Ken, the girl was in prison. How much exploring and finding yourself can you do? Like, like in the real world, we have less time to do all those things because we've got a lot of things to do, just being free and whatnot. In prison, you're just locked up 24 hours a day to truly find yourself. Like, I don't buy what he's selling. I don't think that Ken is this great guy. I think she's just romanticizing him because he dumped her, and your brain plays tricks on you. sometimes at the end of a relationship or whatever, to have you believing it was a lot better than it actually was. I don't like this Ken guy either. I haven't seen him yet, but I don't like just based off the fact that he keeps on trying to like meddle in her marriage, and like the lack of boundaries there on his end and on the stepmom's end as well. If I were Ryan, I would be furious with the stepmom. Like, absolutely not. Shut the door. And with Gypsy as well, I'd be like, you better tell your stepmom to stop bringing up this guy. It's over. We're married. Leave it alone. And that's it. You know what I mean? So I imagine that he is going to blow a gasket when he finds out what actually happened. So, you know how he said it seems like her stepmom prefers Ken over Ryan? Well, she kind of like low-key tells us, because she's like, like, I like Ryan and everything, but like, if that were Ken that like she left, she was married to when she left prison, I would know for sure that Gypsy were safe. So you don't think Gypsy's safe with Ryan, Miss Girl? And why don't you think Gypsy's safe with Ryan? Rhetorical question, right? Because if you watch my recaps over this season, I keep on saying that this guy, he's too much. He's super imposing. Like, remember like in episode 1, when she was speaking with her parole officers and he kept on speaking over her. He tried to snatch the phone out of her hand to get into a fight with the parole officer. Episode 2, same thing, speaking over her and whatnot. Her fame starts going to his head. Every time they leave the house, he's obsessing about paparazzi. He's like, oh, this is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So the McDonald's lady who's just trying to hand them their freaking Happy Meal and keep on moving with her day. Episode 3, she's like, where's my security? Where's our security? No selfies, Gypsy. Like, do this, do that. Oh, we love you. Like, he's a celebrity. I can see why the stepmom doesn't like him. And although, like, if this were a regular, happy, healthy relationship, I would be like all over, like, like, get out of here. You're so toxic. But in this situation, I'm glad that she's helping Gypsy find her out away from Ryan, because Ryan is just not for her. But I don't like that she wants it in the form of Gypsy hopping on over to the next guy, because again, I don't know that Ken is that great of a guy either. I feel like any guy that writes into someone who's in prison, much less prison for offing someone, is not a great person. There's something off about them already. But I digress. We're going to find out. We see in the previews that he's going to pop up next episode or so. So we'll see how he actually goes. Okay. Now, speaking of goes, the next day, Ryan goes off for work. Remember, his boss had called him in episode 3. And so here he is starting work. So this means that this was filmed on a Tuesday. And while Gypsy is home alone, she decides to go ahead and start cleaning up their home. Gypsy does not like clutter because her mom used to be a hoarder. So she shows off the closet that she finished cleaning after about 6 hours. She said he had dirty clothes everywhere. I feel so rude for the way I talk about Ken, but it's the truth. And I have to be honest, he's such a slob. You just see him and it screams slob. It screams, I do not take care of myself, like it's everywhere. So I'm not shocked that his home is so messy. It's so slobby. It's so dirty. It's so cluttered. It's so sloppy. Like, you can see it, like even the way he walks around with his pants sagging halfway off, his legs, because they do not, they do not fit. Like, it's just, and I feel like this is something that's giving her family and potentially her as well the ick. Like, it's not a good look the way he walks around. He really needs to like get it together, So anyway, Gypsy cleans up that closet and then she goes to work in the kitchen, cleaning all that up. So in his fridge, it's like stocked to the brim, which would be okay if this were like fresh food or whatnot. But a lot of it is old takeout that's gone stale, or rice from ages ago that's gone stale, or spaghetti, or this, that, a million condiment jars that are like empty. Like, so she spends a long time cleaning it up for him. And, you would think that he would appreciate it, but whatever. We'll get into that after her FaceTime conversation with her stepmom, okay? So her stepmom, after going through all those photos and stuff of Gypsy with Ken, she decides to call Gypsy to tell her that Ken has reached out yet again to see how she's doing, and she also tells Gypsy that Ken told her that he only broke up with Gypsy to give her time to find herself, and that he regrets dumping her, which is the worst thing you can say to like a newly married woman. Like, why are you getting into this? Gypsy is married. She's married. This is not the type of stuff that you should be telling her, Again, it's obvious this lady doesn't like Ken, and that's why she's telling Gypsy, doesn't like Ryan, and that's why she's telling Gypsy. Like, she really wants to help break this thing up so that Gypsy can go back and be with Ken. I really want to know how you guys feel about it. Like, I feel like I shared my opinion, but just in case, I'll share it like briefly. I don't like Ryan for Gypsy. Okay. But does that mean that I would be like playing around this way? No, I would just be telling her that I don't particularly like this guy for her. I wouldn't be urging her towards another man because I think Gypsy needs time for herself. She's never been a free, grown woman on her own. So I don't think she needs like, one guy or the other. She just needs herself, right? But let me know what you guys think, okay? In the comment section, you guys might have a different opinion. And, like I said, I can't believe that the stepmom is falling for Ken's BS. She's very easy to manipulate, in my opinion. Now, the two of them, they start crying over Gypsy's heartbreak about the end of her relationship with Ken. Gypsy talks about how she loved him more than anything. She would have done anything for him. Remember, she did her own tattoo of his letter K on her leg and everything. Like, she was all the way in. She was down bad for that man. And then after she gets off the phone with her stepmom, Gypsy does a confessional where she cries about like the possibility of leaving Ryan for Ken. And she's trying to convince us and herself that she's in love with Ryan and she wants to stick it out with him. She's like, yeah, but like, what would happen like if we get into a fight and like I know Ken's single now, like would I just rush over there? Like I've made a commitment to my husband. She cries with no tears. I made a commitment to my husband. Fuck that guy. Like girl, you're gonna leave that man. We all know. Like you trapped yourself into a rebound marriage to try to stick it to Ken, and now like you're just not happy anymore and you want to be with Ken because he's single and ready to come back and get you. That's what it feels like. It feels like she just wanted for the news to hit the press that she got married to someone else to make Ken jealous so that it would arrive at this point. And here we are, which I don't think was a great idea on her part. Like it's kind of hard to get out of a marriage, especially when you hurt someone like this and they become spiteful. Like he's going to make it ugly for her. So let's talk about that fridge she cleaned out. Okay. So here it is. And Ryan comes back home from work and she shows him, she's so excited to show him all the stuff that she cleaned up. Look at all that stuff on the counter too. Just, oof. So anyway, she shows him everything that she did, and he is just really upset. He's like, what about the rice? What about the spaghetti? What about my condiments? That was food. There was so much food in that fridge. Like, yeah, that's the problem. There's a bunch of food in this fridge that's stale and needs to go, and like, just, you don't have to hoard all the food in the world. It's okay. You'll get fresh food, So I was kind of disappointed for Gypsy based on his reaction. Like he really, truly did not appreciate all that she did for him. She even threw out like his stale, disgusting pillows, and he was upset about that too. And one thing that stuck out to me was like that, you see that corner on the side there of that counter? This is not food. Okay. This guy is crying about food. This is not food. This is garbage. This is synthetic edible material, but it's not food. Okay. So like just the fact that you just have all of this like hocked up everywhere, and then you see Gypsy as well. Gypsy just, all she does is she knocks back 2-3 energy drink sodas a day, maybe even 4 or 5, I don't know. But like pretty much every time you see her, she's got a can of something, sugar in her hand. Like these two, like you got to take care of your health, like look at Gypsy's teeth in this video. Look, your teeth have been taken out already, dude. Like, do you want to lose like the few remaining ones that you have? Like, take care of your health, people. This is not food. This is not food. I repeat, this is not food. This is wreaking havoc on your body. It's okay to have treats here and there, but to just be sitting around drinking like garbage, sugar, whatever, all day, and then to be eating the stuff all day, every day. And then people wonder why, why they can't get in shape. Look at this. Honestly, this is something that horrifies me when I watch American TV, you guys, especially since I moved to Europe 4.5 years ago. Just the way that people eat on these shows is night and day compared to the way people eat on like our shows here. Like it truly is. Like it's alarming. It is. It's shocking to me. It's just so shocking to see the way that people eat. But I digress. And the way that people drink, like, woof. Anyway, so again, he really, really was upset about this. And so there's like he makes this comment about like, oh, maybe that was there, like my ex put it there or something like that. And then Gypsy's like, oh, your ex? You want to go there? I've got something for you tonight, which obviously refers to her ex, Ken, sniffing around again. Girl, I always felt like Gypsy had a very high-pitched voice, okay? And it's okay to have a high-pitched voice. I don't think that necessarily makes you childish. But the way she was speaking like a baby here, like, oh my God, like I was kind of like icked out. I was like, oh, she's like, I got something for you tonight. Oh no, it's just my ex-boyfriend. Come on. Like that type of thing. I'm like, it's giving child. It's giving child. I don't know like how men are attracted to these sorts of demeanors. I don't like young, youthful, like teeny bopper kind of energy. Like I'm a grown woman. I want to be with a grown man, but like men are kind of weird that way, you know? But I digress. So yeah, I kind of got a little icked out in that scene. If you have a moment, or if you're able to, if you've got philo, like I'm hooking you up with in the description box of this video, go back, rewatch that particular scene when Ken comes back, and then he says the thing about the ex-girlfriend and how Gypsy Rose reacts. She spoke like a little child there, and it was really, really creepy to me for a minute. I was like, oh. So anyway, next we find out that Gypsy did in fact tell Ryan. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up these names. They're two such like, you know, classics, simple names, but I keep mixing them up. So we find out that Gypsy did tell Ryan about Ken and everything like that. And Ryan is super upset about the situation. And of course, he's upset with his stepmom for entertaining it at all, which I completely understand. Totally valid. Christy should have cut Ken off to not stir up trouble in this marriage. But on the other end, I get Christy's point. If she's seeing that Ryan is a toxic person and she feels like this is the best way to get rid of him, although I don't think it's fair. I feel like she should just tell Gypsy that instead of meddling around. But listen, I'm more excited to know what you think about this situation and how everything went down. So please definitely do make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions on the episode in the comment section down below, and we will chat. And per usual, don't forget, sign up for Philo. I've got an affiliate link that you can use to get a free trial to the platform in the description box of this video. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.